says. All right, it is day 2 of the Holocaust conference that's going on right now in Iran. The participants are praising Iran's president for raising some questions about whether the Holocaust ever took place. Meanwhile, rare student protests have broken out there over the past few days, and strong international condemnation continues to pour in. So the question, are the seeds of revolt sprouting in Iran right now, and what would that mean for President Ahmadinejad? We have asked a very qualified group to join us on this very important question this afternoon. Let's get started. Fox News correspondent Rudi Bakhatia was raised in Iran until the 1979 revolution there, and also Fox News Channel correspondent Amy Kellogg, whose stories you have all watched very closely of her travels through Iran recently. And Ghazal Omid is an Iranian scholar and the author of Living in Hell, a true odyssey of a woman's struggle in Islamic Iran against personal and political forces. It's good to have you back, Ghazal, as well. Rudi, I want to start with you because our viewers all know you. They watch all of the reporting that you do all over the world, but they may not know too much about your personal story. So tell me a little bit about what it was like to be raised there, and also what you see in terms of what's happening there right now. Do you see a sea change?
Well, I was raised there at a very crucial time, Martha, as you know. I was there when Iran was transformed from a westernized government moving forward in the world, a country that was respected amongst Europeans, amongst Americans, under the Shah of Iran. I was in Iran during that time, living there when it was transformed overnight into the hands of a regime, the Islamic Republic regime of Iran, which has been known to be a very violent regime, an oppressive regime, especially towards women in Iran. And I was there at a time when, in a matter of a year, women went from wearing westernized clothing to being all of a sudden covered all over and penalized with whippings, and with men, their heads were shaved if they were talking to each other when they weren't supposed to be talking to each other. It was a very oppressive time. People were imprisoned. My family was killed, in jail without trials. My uncle was assassinated in Paris. He was the last prime minister of Iran. In his trial, the assassin said on record that he was paid by the Iranian government, the Islamic Revolution of Iran, to assassinate this person. So this is the regime that we are dealing with right now.
Rudi, as you were talking, we saw one picture that I want Ghazal to comment on in the left-hand side of the screen. You sent us these pictures, Ghazal. They are women wearing veils, head-to-toe veils. This picture, interestingly, was taken in London. And now let's take a look at the other picture that, very interestingly, was taken in Tehran, which shows a very different type of coverage. Tell me a little bit about these pictures, Ghazal.
Hi there. I got on your program yesterday, and somebody made a comment that Iranian women wear burqas. I was very offended because that's not the case. In fact, a few days ago, on December 7th, when Iranian women were among protesters against the government of Iran on 16th of Azar, they actually they covered their hair. They showed they show what they are. And I wanted women around the world to know, and especially those people who think that Iranian women are like Arab women. As much as I have respect for Arab women, we are not like them. We are very, very different. We're very brave. And as Rudi said right now, we're standing up to this government. We know what they did to our country. We're very sorry for the actions of our regime. But it doesn't mean that we're going to be like Tiananmen Square. We're not going to be sitting down and watching the government to destroy this beautiful country of ours. And this is the time for the world to notice what the students are doing. Instead of talking about what we should be doing, we should be actually just doing it.
Ghazal, thank you. I just have a minute. I want to make sure that we get back to Amy, too, because, Amy, we're looking at these pictures in Tehran of women who are wearing very sort of fashionable clothing, and they look very Western. You know, what do you think? You've talked to a lot of students there recently about the seeds of revolution. Is it happening, and what's the likelihood that it could ever succeed at this point in time?
I think, Martha, that we need to be careful when we discuss this. As Rudi and Ghazal would tell you, things can change overnight in Iran. It's a very unpredictable situation, I think, historically and potentially at the present time. I think the student demonstrations that we've seen in the last week or so are very significant in that it's a difficult environment in which to stand up and speak out for greater freedoms of expression, which the students have been doing. We will have to see how, if they continue to protest, and what that turns into. It could be something very significant. I think another, or maybe not, Martha, but I think another very important thing to watch, in a couple days' time there are going to be elections. Municipal elections and elections for the Assembly of Experts in Iran. Those are the clerics who ultimately elect the supreme leader. And I think whatever trend we see in the outcome of those elections will be actually some sort of popularity rating, the first real one we have seen for President Ahmadinejad.
Yes, that's a really interesting point, Amy. We'll watch those. We'll get back to you on that. This is a great group, and I know we'll have a lot to talk about Iran in the coming weeks. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. Rudi and Ghazal and Amy Kellogg joining us from London today.